I don't.
We have four here. Hello.
So you should have a good. Back, but once it gets banned, you're going back to school.
Wow.
In Cassidy. It's good for you. Hello, everybody.
Oh. Okay. Today is Wednesday, March 8th, and this is the Airport Advisory Committee
It is a hybrid meeting, so it is in person and online. And the first thing I'm going to do is call it to order, and let's say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic. I think the first thing I'd like to do here is have everybody introduce themselves. It's a small enough room, we can go around. I'm Tom Reed, I'm the chair.
I'm David Reed, Programs Manager.
Andrea Berlanga, Admin Aide for Airports.
Angel Charles, Program Management.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
David, I'm proud of you.
Charters, program. How many pages?
Hey, we were at large.
Thurman positive.
Didn't see it there.
East Venice,
Frank Santana's biologist at large.
Right?
Charlie Broadbent, airport manager in Wyatt.
Mary Rock, Experimental Aircraft Association.
Lisa Golden, okay.
Lisa, welcome in person.
Richard Rose, Sierra Mesa Community.
Here it is, EA Brownfield.
Thank you.
Ron Lee, special expertise, parachuting and drone. Our Senator, that's Senator Brownfield. Yo, Montgomery County Commissioners Group.
And Vice Chair. All right, thank you very much. I have to read some things here, as you all know, attendees. In addition to being able to attend in person, this meeting is being live streamed on the city's public meeting page, and staff can make arrangements for public comment using the Zoom webinar platform. I will go over the specifics of how to join the webinar and will give details on how the public can offer their public testimony. Let's see. Joel Bryant isn't here. Is he? Maybe show up.
Yeah, he's not here now.
Okay, those guys are so busy. If he comes, we'll make that note. Also attending this meeting is David Reed, who's standing in for Deputy Director Jorge Rubio, who's got a conflict, has to go downtown and talk to the people that run things. Let's see, if you are in person and you want to speak, you need to fill out a speaker slip located at the entrance and provide it to Mr. Reed, this Mr. Reed, not me, in a timely manner to ensure proper meeting management. In-person testimony will conclude before virtual testimony begins. Members of the public can also join the webinar via computer, tablet, or smartphone. Do we have anybody that can join?
No.
Okay. I'm going to skip ahead on all that stuff then. Please note that if you're watching via online, there may be a delay. Please participate via the audio on your phone and use your computer. A quorum is now present. We have 6, we have 7 members of the committee here. We need 6. So the first thing on our agenda is non-agenda public comment. Non-agenda public comments, an opportunity for members of the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the committee. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. The public comment period for non-agenda public comment is now open. Do you have any non-agenda public comments on the web?
No.
David, you do not see anybody. I have one, very short one. I'll keep it very short. There was an email that went out about the gate.
Sorry.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Could you also keep it?
Yes, we had an email go around about swiping cards going through the gates that upset some of the airport users. Charlie and I had a great talk about how to deal with this. I think we should take it offline. And even though we talked about bringing that into the meeting, I think everybody's cool with it. And if anybody has any questions about what we talked about, please see me after the meeting. But the gate, card, access, that stuff has been put in there.
All right.
He did.
Just one other thing, I received a call from Sunshine Genevis at SoCal TriCon. Monday and Tuesday, there's a presidential TFR in place.
I heard
And supposedly sometime starting early on the 13th, and then he's exiting the county somewhere in the afternoon of the 14th.
Right, and I have that information. I'm not going to disseminate it until the notam's filed. That's what I was instructed to do, but I have that and I'll send it to everybody
This Monday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, on Monday. So,
soon.
luckily now with ForeFlight, with all the emails that go out, everybody should be notified 6 ways to Sunday because the president will be a part. Yeah, hopefully we won't have the same thing that happened last time. When a +1 out was directly over the president. I thought the F-16 was there to say hi. Whoops. Okay, so this concludes non-agenda public comment. Welcome Dave Gordon, for those of you who don't know Dave Gordon. Oh, he's right there. Now he's here. So next item is approval of minutes for February 8th, 2023. Did everybody have an opportunity to read those minutes? I don't have any speaker cards on this, and I waited for comments. I don't have any comments on this. I read them and didn't find any that I needed to change. So we need a motion.
Motion that this you approve after.
A motion has been made by Mr. McGill. Do we have a second? Great, second by Ron Lee. All in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand. Under the count. All opposed? Any abstentions? Got it? Okay, beautiful. Approval of minutes. Moving right along. Item number 5 is unfinished business, but there is no unfinished business, so we can go on to item number 6. Item number 6, we have item 6A, which is a review of the airport advisory committee bylaws. And could you want to present on the bylaws, or?
Yes, I can speak briefly.
The floor is yours.
There are the new airport advisory committee bylaws. This item before you is for you to review, suggesting changes to the bylaws. There will be no vote on the bylaws at this time. Rather, we will incorporate changes suggested by the committee and vote on the approval. Vote to approve will be held at the next airport advisory committee meeting, April 12th, 2023. One note on the bylaws themselves, that found 2 items that just need to be quickly addressed regarding the department name change and the title change for the director. The first item being on page 1, 6th bullet point needs to be revised to reflect the department's name change to the Department of Real Estate and Airport Management. The second item is on page 4 under section 302, special names, needs to reflect the change of deputy director title rather than airport's deputy director. It should refer to him as the deputy director of airport management. So two small things.
Okay, and any other major constructive changes to the bylaws though?
So not at this time, it's just before the need to review, suggest changes.
Excellent. Do you want us to review and suggest changes now or after that?
We can take the suggested changes throughout the next month with the new members as they review this, and then we can incorporate them in the next one and go on to them.
Okay. As I recall, last year we went through these pretty thoroughly and buffed them out and changed them to where they were more modern and appropriate. So I don't foresee there being any real changes. But if anybody sees anything, then get in touch with David Reed. Okay, let's see. We have to ask, is there any public comment on that on the web?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Moving right on. 6G, right? We are election of chairperson and the vice chairperson of the airport advisory committee. Every year we have to re-elect a chair and a vice chair. Do we have any nominations for the chairperson?
I nominate you.
Chuck McGill nominated Tom Reed for the chair. Anybody else want to nominate anybody else? Getting my wallet out. Okay, so we have a nomination for the chair. Do we have any nominations for the vice chair? Nominate Chuck. Very good, thank you. Okay, Chuck has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for any? You can nominate yourself too, by the way, for chair or vice chair. Okay. Do we have any public comment?
None at this time.
None at this point. Okay, so we're gonna call for the vote to approve the elections as stated. All in favor
What,
of approving the committee chair and vice chair as,
which one, you gotta do it one at a time.
oh, we gotta do one at a time?
If you have to abstain.
That's right. Thank God you're here. Okay, let's vote for the chairperson. So, all in favor of the nomination for chairperson being Tom Brady? All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Now let's do the same thing for the vice chair. All those in favor of Chuck being the vice chairperson? Got the count? All opposed? Abstentions? One, okay, very good. All right, moving along at the speed of bureaucracy. We have informational items next on the agenda. Let's see, do we have any new informational items? Anybody here to speak on informational items?
So that's for 7A,
7A. Okay. So we are at discussion in regards to the cost of retail aviation gasoline in Montgomery Gibbs Aviation Executive Airport. I believe that Dave Gordon was going to bring us information on the cost of gasoline.
Keep it short and sweet, but, right now, the, retail price for avgas from Conair and Coast is the same, within 2 cents. It's $7.94 a gallon.
And can you go to the next slide? We prepared just two slides on this that outline the costs. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
I'm not trying to.
Sorry, that's
Yeah, and so in comparison, only Palomar and Lindbergh are higher prices than here. Palomar, there's a difference because they actually, one was pretty close, but it's, they offer a hefty discount to some of their customers out there. But, let's see, there's 2 fuel vendors. Circle Air, and I was just saying, Golden State Flying Club, which is not a flying club. They're both at $6.69 a gallon sweet. Brownfield, both vendors down there are $4.90. So a huge variation. As far as I know, at least these Gillespie here and Brown are all getting it from St. Cedar. And obviously, shipping delivery costs are a little less than $3, close to $3 a gallon. Ray and I've had several discussions. Quite frankly, one of the biggest problems is when the real estate department did the lease for Crown Air for executive flight, they jacked up the lease rent, it's 30%. In my opinion, there's no just cause for that. The airport's well funded. Can't take that money off the airport. Get a lot more rent. And that's going down to all the end users. And it's, we've had some of the airplanes that were based here, and probably moving to Gillespie and a lot of that. Talking about doing that. And I don't think there's that much difference in real estate. Certainly not in Brown or both city airports. The fluid fees are the same. So I want to try to solve this today. I just want to make people aware, start some discussion about, is there any way we can resolve this? Because there's about $30,000 of gas every month. That's hurt. Some of the owners and plus one. We go out to Gillespie about once a week. I'd like to see if there's some solution somewhere. It needs to start with the city, reevaluating what they're charging and what they're requiring Crown Air to do that costs sky high.
Do you have a presentation that augments this?
well, the presentation is going to be just presenting what the actual costs are regionally. We took airports within a 25-mile radius and kind of found that we were within the range. Some in some fashions, we were lower. For example, self-service, I believe you're higher, ground are being the highest at this time. And these numbers were pulled for May 6th. The other thing I would just note, you know, we as the airport, we don't set fuel prices.
You don't set fuel prices, but what you've done is you created, I'm not saying you personally, the city. We used to have 3 FBOs here that sold fuel. Because there wasn't much other choice. Crown Air, I guess, I'll take this personally, guys, but the lesser of 2 evils when they had the bidders, the other bidders kind of kick out most of this year. There's not much competition. If your airplane's based at you can't elsewhere. It's just.
I think it's just to say that you just need to tax the.
Yeah, you can't, I said you can't without taking your plane. The other fuel vendor, there's only one other fuel vendor, not allowed on executive. Post doesn't have any space. Very few space. Transit, like, other. It's just created, you know, it's the big, so even if you discount for anything, their retail, their wholesale price for not considering delivery charges, pro fees, is $4.45 per. That's, but between here and Gillespie, they're very comparable. What's very main argument. I think Gillespie and Montgomery have the same kind of uses. There's a moderate amount of jet traffic. There's a lot of piston aircraft. A lot of flights going to 669 to 794 is a huge difference.
Does anybody else have a comment on this? This is labeled as a discussion, so we're open forward. Anybody else in the audience want to stop and address this? Go ahead,
I
Rick.
feel like I should at least address a couple things. Besides maybe higher ground rent, which is a contributor, I think, to the difference. I think the level of service, you know, we've had two Afghan trucks that are doing about 100 fuel a day. Our average uplift for an Afghan fueling is less than 18 gallons a shot. So it's an expensive service to provide. We're not doing it. Some do so little. Some those probably have a loss of just a necessity. And then we have what you don't see, you know, we just spent 450. We're making improvements to the leasehold, those don't come for free. We just got food again for the half gas that we sell because it's being put into the atmosphere. We don't burn any of it. We let it into the atmosphere. So we're defending that. So we have costs that I think are hard to see on. You know, they're going to be less expensive than Palomar, I believe. But we should be more than Gillespie. I mean, if you have a house in Oklahoma, it's going to cost less than if you have a house. You know, people might drive out to Oklahoma. We're not making excuses. We're going to keep our margin for that. Put all that out there. It's a different sort of some FBOs have to find words and expensive field. We have full dispatch.
Ray, are you at liberty to tell us who the plaintiff is in the lawsuit?
It's called CEH. It's the Center for Environmental Health. It's the same group who sued about 25 FBOs about 10 years ago for putting lead in the atmosphere. Now, the lawsuit, the settlement 10 years ago said we will start selling unleaded fuel when it's commercially available. Now they've come and said, oh, it's commercially available, you have to start providing. Start shutting down. So Jorge and we have been working on trying to find a solution so that we can check the box that it's commercially available. If you're following the UL 94 progress, it's not really a solution.
No.
And it's just going to be to check a box to get out under a lawsuit. The city has allocated a bunch of money to put a tank in place for UL 94, which in my opinion is a good way to also just to stave off. That's the Montgomery Coalition there. They just want to link something that they're not the solution, right? That's a lot of money. That
Yeah.
tank, I think, I don't know, I think it was $800,000.
Yeah, you'll be at $1 million by the dollar.
And that's for a tank that really a couple of years. For wheel and forward, and so let's, anyway, that's my perspective.
Thank you very much, Ben. You're gonna,
Just real brief, well, I got one question and a comment about your comparison of El Cajon to La Jolla. I feel like El Cajon is pretty recent. But, for the last year, the price here for 100 low has been running just about $1 more than Circle. And now it's more like $1.30, 40, 50. Is there, I'm not privy to why the big difference has been a cap is,
Partly, we don't consider them the same service level as how we do the business, their reputation. We're spending a lot of money on improvements. We're not trying to do the Circle.
well, no, but they are about the same level of service at a much lower volume. I am a customer.
I can answer that for you.
Sure.
So basically, it's about the business model and who your customers are. Circle Air does not have a lot of piston aircrafts over there, so they kind of use it as a loss leader, cheaper. No,
I've talked to them and they were talking to us, they're not now.
they probably not talking to them, they kind of look at their fuel like I said. So they sell a tremendous amount more jet fuel, which is a tremendous amount more profitable. It's a lot more work to sell avgas than 10 gallons or 8 gallons. Like, I personally have my avgas very cheap because my competitor, which they also have a competitor for Circle Air, which I think I'm in right now, but their competitor, Golden State is their competitor. Golden State has a majority share in business over there. They would like to have more of it. I don't care in my field about having a majority share, but I want to still be able to sell it. My competitor uses it as a loss leader. You guys come down there to try and get maintenance for the maintenance facilities up here so that he can get some maintenance. And he doesn't care about making profit on avgas. Profits that you said aren't accurate. Our delivery cost is not $4.45. I'm probably right at $5. And then you have to remove those taxes.
I said it didn't include the delivery cost.
But you have to remove the taxes. I think that, I can't remember for sure, it's either 18 or 34 cents on that gas for the state tax. You also have your permit fees, you have your electricity, you have your site miner to process the credit cards. There's so many things that go into it that look very, very simple. Some people like me can sell out gas for nothing because we sell a tremendous amount of jet fuel and it offsets it. It's just a customer service thing. For Crown Air, if you would love him to displace you, put jets in here and have more volume through jets, he's going to definitely be able to lower his avgas price in that care. But you have to make your money somewhere. I mean, Ray, how much you sell a month in avgas?
30,000+ gallons.
Okay, so when you offset, I'm sure Ray's insurance is like mine. My insurance is $140,000 a year for my liability, my maintenance, stuff like that. When you start taking $10,000 off of each one of those profit centers that he's got going, his payroll's got to be sizable because we're all having to pay our line guys a lot more money than we used to have to pay. It used to be hire a line guy and it was like $15 an hour. Now some of my line guys, are making a tremendous amount more money than that because you need to have employees or else nobody's gonna be here to pump your fuel. Bottom line is they're not killing it. they're more expensive than the average guy, but you have to have a profit center someplace. And
I
that's
get
where it's
that,
at.
like I said, it's not,
It's not gonna get any cheaper,
It's not.
that's the deal. You're going to be paying a price like that to be at this airport forever. To try and convince him or shame him into selling his fuel cheaper, it's never gonna happen. He has to make money, he has to support all this stuff, you guys all want nice things, wanna have nice buildings, they come from somewhere. There's, the best thing you can do is work a deal out with him and create more volume, or else you gotta pay like everybody else. And that's how it goes. I mean, you can definitely buy it on marketplace, get sold for $199 today. It's right there.
as I said, I wasn't, I recognize the brown area is not, brown area is not a compression.
You gotta have your guy fly down there. And then that's out of your time and you're not training him and it's all functional.
Okay, don't make me use the gavel. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That was a enlightening discussion, but I don't think we're solving problems.
Well, I'm not saying it's solid, but I'm getting a lot of inquiries from people and complaints, and that's why I'm trying to figure out. See, a lot of.
But that's a lot of money. It's about making a profit.
And your job is not to defend or to report that Crown Air over there. If somebody has a problem with fuel prices, say Ray Richmond's phone number is.
If I could just say, just jump on a couple of things, I don't think he's trying to attack anyone genuinely interested in the issue. Regarding the cost, as expressed here by two FBOs, the market conditions and the costs are different for different providers based on what they're at and what they're experiencing. Regarding the property costs on the executive air apartment, we use the airport to do appraisals for property before any type of property is put up for lease. That way we have the most accurate and up-to-date appraisal of that property and what it's actually worth. And then set the rents or leases based on that information. I don't have any of that information in front of me right now and how that process took place, but I'm giving the release much more first in that and then providing information with that later.
Thank you very much. And I don't mean to keep rolling on this. We've got an 81-page presentation coming in. I don't want to spend 2 hours talking about the price of gas. Okay, we are now down to the residents. Is that 81 pages? Yes, we're down at 81 pages. 7B is the discussion regarding the residential development project called the Arrow Building right across the street on Arrow Court, south of Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport. David, would you please proceed?
Yes. So this is a development happening near the airport. For reference, it's essentially directly across the street from the Four Point Sheraton Hotel. It's a proposed seven-story residential building, which will have 434 multi-family units in it. It'll have an 8-level parking structure with approximately 712 stalls at this time. The residential building is about 77 feet above ground once constructed. The parking structure about 96 feet above ground once constructed. The FAA has provided the developer is 7460s with a determination of no hazard. For project status, they have received their building permits under the ministerial review process, and it's under construction right now. The developer has requested a deviation from DSD to not build 21 additional required parking spaces for the conversion of some of the single bedroom units that were originally designed with dens in them to 2-bedroom units. Here's a map with the project site. This area recently, across the street from Arrow Drive there, has recently been rezoned as a part of the Kearney Mesa zoning program. And for reference, the RMX is for residential mixed use. The 1 or the 2 designated by it sets the height limit of any structure to be built there at 240 feet. If it has a 1 next to it, it's 120 feet height limit, and then if there were a 3 by it, there would be no height limit on it at all. The EMX, the property adjacent to it, is also a mixed use, but it's an employment mixed use, which means it could be industrial, research, retail with residential use associated with it. Or the secondary use could be industrial, it just could not be the same type of industrial type use. As far as what we've done so far in our due diligence, once learning about the development, we consulted with DSD to try and get more information on it. We consulted with the FAA to make sure that proper Part 77 were filed and received. Consulted with the appropriate permit issuing agencies to ensure that everything was properly reviewed by the city, and make sure that we were covering our bases. Consulted with the air traffic control tower here at NYF to get their input on it and any possible obstructions or issues into traffic patterns. Discussed the project with some of our local pilots to better understand the impact on users and usage of the airport. We looked at the runway 5 use, including circling approaches, along with reviewing the traffic patterns for runway 5, 2, 3, and 10 left. For runway 28 left, the traffic pattern and runway 05 use, the normal traffic pattern for runway 28 left is south of the project. I think the next slide will better depict kind of the traffic pattern. Aircraft in the traffic pattern typically fly south of Hewlett and Gramercy. Fixed wing traffic pattern altitude is a 1400 MSL for 28 left, making this the traffic in that pattern roughly 890 feet. The traffic would be 890 feet above the 96-foot building. If winds are at 050 degrees at 10 knots, tower mainly still elects to use runway 10 right and 10 left for operational advantage with left quarterly headwind. That's one of the things we noticed. Runway 5 is typically only used during the Santa Ana winds when you get that northeast quarterly headwind. And most of the time, I think we spoke with Joel over at the tower. Each year ranges from maybe 1 to 5 days a year, so it's not a significant amount of usage, as I think that runway usage in total is less than 5% of our total usage here at the airport. So here you can see a sample of the traffic pattern. As you can see, some are tighter in, some are more extended downwind. The project is located there with the arrow. And you can see most of the traffic pattern is actually going to be south of this development. Again, not ideal, but we don't think it's an obstruction in the traffic pattern. The FAA has determined that it's not a hazard, even though we all still have our concerns about this project. Runway 5 usage is estimated to be less than 1%, approximately 1 to 5 days per year, as I stated, primarily used during the Santa Ana winds. There's no IFR departures allowed at this runway, there's no instrumentation associated with it. The circle to land approaches for runway 5 are rare based on the usage and the instrumentation associated with it. And the typical flight path would be a left turn south of the approach for 28 right to enter the runway downwind for runway 05. And you'll see in the next slide kind of a better depiction of that zoomed in. Again, not ideal. We're not happy about the development, but for the most part, we don't think it's going to be too much of a factor for traffic itself. It's going to be more of a noise concern for the residents there. So our next steps, the project will most likely be constructed at this point. We're going to reach out to the developer and see what we can request of them. As this was a ministerial review, because we didn't get the chance to provide any comment at it during the review process prior to any building permits being issued. So we will look to the developer to see if they would be willing to place obstruction lights on it. While it's not technically an obstruction of the airspace, we think it's in the best interest of public safety with those on there because of it being under the traffic pattern. And that area will see a lot of low flying helicopter activity due to the San Diego PD police usage along with fire rescue. They try to take the most immediate path towards the emergency in which they're responding to. We'll also be requesting that they disclose that residents will be subject to noise events regularly. And there will be not much that the airport itself can do, as this is located within the traffic pattern of the airport itself.
You want questions now or later?
I can stop and take questions.
If you know, is it required by California Department of Real Estate for an airport activity disclosure to be issued on rentals like they do on sales?
I'm not sure, but I can find that out.
I think that's important because if you buy a house within certain proximity of an airport, you have to sign a disclosure that says, oh, I know there's airplanes nearby. And that would be, if they have to do it with rentals, then we know they're going to get it. It's just a matter of course. But if they don't have to, then let's see if we can ask them.
Right, and that's one of the things we were gonna ask them regardless of any type of regulatory activity, just because it's in the people who live there's best interest to know before moving in there. I think it's also in the airport's best interest as well as the developer themselves. Lisa?
Generally, it's only the owners that are given notice, and that's usually in a sale situation. The renters are generally not.
I didn't think so.
Rentals down in Richmond, we're not required.
I'm not so sure that's true. It's when they were doing development down there, remember, the developer was required. Some rental units, they were proposing right. Should remember. 270.
Those are maybe different.
Well, it was for renters.
And I think what Tom's referring to is a state law that would require any type of developer to make that disclosure. I'm not sure if there is one for renters. We can look into that and determine whether there is or is not. I think regardless of whether there is or is not, we're going to request that of the developer. As I said, it's in the best interest of people who actually end up living there, the developer and the airport.
I agree. Do we need an action item that says that the Airport Advisory Committee recommends to issue disclosure, noise disclosure to this?
I don't think so at this time because it's an informational item, but you can be reassured that we are doing that. Go ahead. Yeah, we just think it, like I said again, and I'll say it the third time, it's in their best interest as the developer to avoid any type of legal action against them. It's the best interest of the people that live there before they move in, that they are made aware of it, so they don't want to be subject to those events. They don't have to be, and it's in the best interest of the airport to make everyone aware of the types of activity that take place about it.
I would like for future meetings that actually the ABC voices, you know, their request for that, but more importantly, I think we should go on record as opposing this project because it provides causes a safety consideration because of the circle of land, the 1 by 5, and the fact that it was not noticed properly. This project is zoning change. It's required to do for the planning groups. I can't say for a fact. I think the airport was required. This committee is required to do zoning changes from commercial property to high density residential. That requires it. Anyway, like to have a discussion with the future meeting.
Well, my opinion is that it's been approved by the FAA, it's been approved by the city, it's underneath all the limits. There's not really anything we can hang our hat on if we object to it. I personally don't object to it. The city needs the housing. If I owned that building, I would put a light on top so that airplanes didn't run into it.
Right, and just to briefly kind of finish up on the presentation, we are closely being monitoring other permit developments. As you saw, that whole area was free zone. If I remember correctly, I want to say the free zone took place in 2020 or 2021. It went before Vernon Mesa planning group. I'm not sure if we were it. I'm not sure if that was a little bit before my time as I joined the airport in 2020. I know this project has been seeking approval, I believe, since 2018, if I recall correctly.
And you know the saying, pick the hill you're gonna die on. You know, this, us objecting, this is not good.
And further,
How is this different than that?
I think the height, like that's 160 feet, this is 96 feet.
It's below all limits.
So
I thought
central building
loading height is that one.
was also proposed at 180 feet, then they brought it down to 160 feet. But also it's a little different because of the traffic pattern and the circle of land goes directly over the Sunrose building, but does not go directly over the 96 foot proposed building. Those are the differences that when we were doing our due diligence and researching, and those are the major things that were different about 160 foot as opposed to 96 foot. Height of buildings.
I don't know. I thought the heights were about the same. I thought they both.
we went in and we looked at both of them, because when we first heard about the development, the first thing we thought about was the Sungrove issue that occurred some years ago. So we went in and found the information, it was originally proposed at 186 feet, that's why the 2 stories eventually had to be knocked out of 60. We were working with the Department of Developmental Services in order to better see some of these things, so we can have more input. We've already reached out to them and to the director to, hey, anything's within safety zone 6 around the airport, we should at least get eyes on it before any type of approvals or anything can be made, whether we're able to prevent anything or require anything of someone. Is all up to the code and what we're able to do, but that does not mean that we cannot request that they do something. So we're taking steps moving.
When the Sunroad building.
That's what's moving.
We're taking steps forward to try to address these issues as best we can for zoning.
When the Sunroad building happened, development services on. Said they would notify the airport then too.
All right, moving on. Are you done with this
Yes.
presentation? Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. We are now on item 7C for staff reports, and you get the floor again.
So again, I'm David Reed. I'm here in place of Jorge Rubio. He sends his apologies for not being able to attend, as there was a conflict in application. We have a new TCOO that is joining Green at this time, and he is giving them a brief of the overall of our department and what goes on. So again, he sends his apologies that he's not able to attend this meeting. TCO, Deputy Chief Operating Officer. Regarding fuel, as we kind of discussed at length, an update regarding the fuel tank project for unleaded fuel continues. Staff here is coordinating with the Department of Engineering and Capital Projects for a design build contract in order to expedite the process as quickly as we can to have the deliverable of a design and constructed unleaded fuel tank. We're working with everyone that we can to expedite this process as quickly as possible, but there are processes and regulations that we have to follow to make sure that this is done appropriately and safely. For some other projects and environmental matters, we will work with engineering and capital projects regarding the fire air ops project. ECP will provide a presentation to the committee next month with information regarding the public review period for the NEPA process for the review of the fire hangars over there by the air traffic control tower. This public review is set to begin in late April after next month's meeting, so there'll be more information at the next month's meeting regarding that. On a positive note, the city has received its new sweeper for Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport. The FAA was able to cover most of it with a grant. The amount is $244,000. So it's a sweeper for each airport that will greatly benefit us and help maintain our properties. The Boards and Commissions Department is tirelessly working to ensure that all city boards and committees have enough representatives to continue to perform their businesses. The mayor announced the reappointments of Mr. Dave Gordon, Ron Reed, and Tom Reed to this committee, as well as the addition of Dr. Donald Chick as an applicant for the Terra Santa area will also be appointed to the committee as well.
Oh, okay, so, but he's not here today, right?
No, not yet. No. I do have just a little bit of background on him via the memo we received. Dr. Chick is I'm sorry if I'm saying the last name wrong, is the president and chief executive operation officer of New Synergist Consulting, which provides various leadership and management workshops to organizations. He is a former business director and senior civilian of the Naval Facility Engineers Command in the Southwest. Yeah, just a little bit of background.
Excellent.
And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you, and kind of ancillary to that, Lisa, you are the OTI rep, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and are you turning out?
yes,
Okay, but you're allowed to stay on the board until somebody has been appointed to replace you.
correct.
Great, okay, I think there's something the chair and vice chair appointments too, that if the mayor needs to appoint us, then what we did earlier today was going to be a big never mind. Until the mayor.
Well, that would be contrary to the bylaws, so they'd have to change the bylaws.
Okay, thank you, Jack. All right, any other staff reports?
Yes, I'll go to Charlie.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. There were over 21,000 aircraft operations in February. Bids were collected for the asphalt repair project for the Marigold hangar area. Chief Scott Asphalt was their bid was selected, and so we're working on opening up a purchase order and moving that forward. A sole source memo was submitted to purchasing and contracting for the airfield lighting computer, so we could source that through Eaton Crouse Hines. There was a notice of right to appeal to comply with CEQA, and it was submitted to in order to conduct some minor trenching over by gate 1, so we could install some conduit and upgrade the gate operator there. So that was put out to the community. And then also, lastly, I'll be attending Aviation Day on March 28th. It's up at the Capitol in Sacramento, and we'll meet with the Aviation Caucus there and discuss some of the issues that the airports in California are facing. And then also, we'll have an electric aircraft there. Actually, it's called the Alpha Electro Bistro. It's going to be on display right there on the state capitol steps, and a lot of the other eVTOL startup companies are going to be there representing their companies as well. So it'll be a good opportunity to promote aviation and also the green part of aviation and electrifying aircraft and those kind of things. So that'll be exciting. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Danny.
Good afternoon, everybody. So for February, we had 7,200 approximate operation. We've had some gate issues and some fence issues down at Brown Field. We're waiting on some PO for those. Those were just approved. So we did just get gate 4 back in operation. We're working on the perimeter fence. And then we'll be working with some other things. We also did do some preventive maintenance. We do have a couple notams still issued. One is for the 8 left packings. They're out of service currently. And then also our beacon is currently out of service. We just got a PO approved for that to have a contract coming in so that should be happening within the next couple of weeks. Still waiting on our UPS for the airfield lighting system to get that back up and working 100%. Also working on 2 positions that we currently have open. We have a GMW2
The heavy equipment operator position that is open, so I'm working on setting up interviews for those. Also, he's not here right now, but we have a new operations assistant. His name is Ronaldo Acuna. He goes by the name of Ray. He's actually doing some training up here today, but he comes to us by way of the Navy. He spent 20 years in the Navy, and he's retired. He was a aviation boatsman. So I believe those are the guys that are on the aircraft carriers, ushering the aircraft on and off the plane. Very dangerous job. So we're glad to have him on board. He's going to be up here for the next couple of days, so something's happening. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, on the drop down that the Navy wants to do on the north side of the field, any updates on that?
We don't really have any updates on it as of yet, nothing has been finalized.
Well, I understand that, but where is it leading at this point?
At this point, I don't know if it's yet under the safety review by the FAA. I would have to check with Morgan to see if he's got any further updates that I may not be aware of at this time.
But they are still proceeding forward.
It's my understanding that they are still proceeding.
Okay, yeah, an update next month would be great.
Thanks, Andy. All right.
Hello, everyone. We'll start with Brownfield. We are working with our city attorney office for the possession of the Aubrey leasehold still. We are also working with city facilities department for doing some roof repairs on the terminal and cafe area. The staff is reviewing a memorandum of agreement between city and CBP for their permanent facilities, and that is still ongoing. Here at Montgomery Field, we're working with the city attorney office on the Sheraton Four Points Hotel. We are speaking with potential buyer and a buyer to the hotel for an assignment on that. We currently have 3 tie downs available at the city hangar west, which used to be lot 8A. The Montgomery Field Complex and Retail Center. At the retail center, the roofing project has been done, the painting has been done, and the permit was just issued for the new front signs for the retail center. So we're hoping within 2-3 weeks, new signs will be going up at the retail center. We're working on a MOU for development services to take over a couple of suites at the 8525 building. And we're also holding interviews to fill vacancies in the in the management side of the building.
Any questions, friends?
A while back, the Four Points Hotel owed the city an awful lot of money in background studies. Anything have been done to recoup any of that lost money?
They're talking about that's going to be all incorporated into the new buyer. So it'll go through.
So the buyer will pay the background.
And is the city now entitled to the property, or is the original owner still entitled? Who's the actual seller?
The hotel, they're selling the hotel, not the land.
Right.
Right, so that they're acquiring the lease, they're gonna transfer the lease.
But the actual hotel is, I know the city owns the land, people that own the hotel own the hotel. Did the city acquire the hotel through foreclosure or anything like that?
No, it has not foreclosed,
You're not in the hotel business yet.
and I'm not in the hotel.
Well, let's put that in.
That one.
And why wouldn't the city to close on the hotel and own it and be able to sell it instead of the people who owe a lot of back there in the city.
Anthony, you want to answer that question?
Well, we're able to recoup the money that they owe us through the hotel selling it. So we would rather not be in the hotel business.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But the city, Armour's done, the city is gonna get the back rent instead of the people who own the hotel building getting the money without having to pay the back rent.
Right.
Ken, there's been a lawsuit going on for
Years.
3 or 4 or 5 years on this thing. They didn't get it out, and this is the resolution for the lawsuit.
Yeah.
So
I think any profit they might have seen from the sale, would basically kind of come to the city, at least in the amount of what is owed. So whatever they're able to sell the hotel at least for, we will get what is back owed, and they would get the rest. So that way,
Their loans
yes,
and-
we're getting restitution for the late rent that we've been pursuing through other legal manners. And we don't get the responsibility of being stuck with the hotel itself in whatever condition that may or may not be in at this time. We think it's the best resolution for, as I said, we don't want to be in the hotel business. But that comes with a lot of additional insurances and liabilities, and the city has its own requirements around any type of properties and potential housing required by the city.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on item 7D for air traffic control tower report, but our representative Brian is actually working because they're woefully understaffed there. So we will skip over that, but I want to go on record by saying they are an incredible staff. They're incredibly overworked. They're incredibly busy. If any of you want entertainment, grab a handheld. I'll lend you mine on a sunny Friday afternoon and listen to them deal with that traffic. Sometimes there's 16 aircraft all in the same area. 4 on that side, 4 on this side, 4 departing, 4 or 5 arriving. And they just work it like a ballet, like a symphony. So moving on to item 7E, other reports. Do we have any other committee items on other reports? Okay. And do we have any committee comments?
We got one note, my company started to produce drone light shows in San Diego, and part of the one that's down in East Street here several weeks ago. We're gonna start producing those for events at USS Midway, on the Embarcadero, no further north than directly across from the county administration building, and at the Hotel Del Coronado. We'll file notice for these, but sometime in the next 60 days, you'll start seeing anywhere from 100 to 300 drones in a year at night for shows that we're producing, for events taking place at these locations. So just be aware, we'll start seeing those down along the Embarcadero. Pardon? Below 400, yeah, there'll be no more than 200 feet.
Excellent. We are now at adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Dave, I see a second. All in favor of adjourning? All right, here comes the gavel again. Thank you very much for joining us. I did July and support those district.
Those all different items, what's it say? Oh, yeah, well,
So we don't.
oh, yeah. Let's see. We could just go to. I kind of forgot how to do it. I don't trust the I think we just can stop sharing and it'll start, and then we'll start doing.
You know, the next one.
David and